tell us about your lineup today? There was no Mark Borowiecki on the ice this morning, no Eric Carlson.
Well, Eric's the same. He just doesn't get on because he doesn't need to. And Boro's getting closer every day. But we felt that Harper did so well, like every game that he's played up to now, that we didn't need to force things. So it's same lineup.
Did you feel one of the strengths of your team most of this season has been not just to weather a storm, but sort of create an unexpected storm as well at the start of a hockey game?
Well, season's long, 82 games. You kind of see it all. But one thing's for sure, over the span of this year, we learned to manage our emotions, manage tough times, come back from a big deficit, or the opposite. The opponent comes back, and then we got to reload and get our game to be at its best a few minutes after. So I think that's what the game's all about: managing momentums, either the momentums you have or the ones that the opponent has. And I think the most important thing is to know why momentums are happening. And for us, when we were in our barn in Ottawa, the second game, the second period, they surged, and we were all over the place, trying to put pressure everywhere and losing 3 guys on the forecheck and pinching a D, and so we gave up some high-end odd man rushes that we don't normally do. So I think that was a readjustment that we needed to make back to our structure and the way we play. And I think last game here was not the case at all. I think we needed to know that the first goal is just everybody's in the right position, but it's a wrister that hits our pad and goes in, so there's nothing much we could do about that. And the second one, the flip, that was hard to manage for Bobby, and Bobby having a garage sale. That's not much we can say about that in terms of positioning and where we're supposed to be. And the last one's a 5-on-3. So when you look at the 3 goals, there's no adjustment really to make. So I think that was an easier adjustment and an easier reload between the second and third, because there was nothing to change about our 5-on-5 game, and we stayed steady and it paid off. So you really have to figure out why the momentums are changing, and if it's something you need to change, you do. But if it's not something you need to change, you got to be aware of that too.
Michaela Renava, New England Sports Network. You guys have been successful in limiting Brad Marchand, Patrice Bergeron. 2-part question: what has been the key to keeping them off the score sheet? And then you've been talking about momentum. How much has that played into momentum when it shifts your way?
Well, I think these guys have had scoring chances, definitely. 2 players they're terrific national team players, and we're aware that at any moment they can really hurt you. So I think we got extra awareness that when they're on the ice. It's our whole focus this year has never been on focusing on 1 or 2 guys specifically. It's been since day one team defense, pack mentality on how we defend, and we haven't really done anything different against them that we would do against Crosby or Ovechkin and McDavid and those guys. We just developed some pride in our defensive game, trying to allow the least shots possible, whoever we're playing against. And obviously when you play high-end players like that are dangerous, they're on the ice, and we don't get the last change here, so we don't get the matchup that we want. It has to be a team defense. We've had a really good team on the road all year, because we didn't rely on a few individuals to do the job, but we relied on our collective to do the job. So we don't want to change that against them.
I know you guys keep saying that you're focused on one game at a time, but there has to have been some conversation about what it would mean to go back to Ottawa up 3-1.
Nope, 0. We've talked about the first 10 minutes of this game. Beyond that, it's what we're going to manage after we get there, and that's really been a strength of ours, is to make sure that we focus on the present and short spans rather than long spans. When you get into the long spans, that's where you get into anxiety, and you get into things that you can't control, and you start to hope for things to happen rather than focus on the things that you need to happen, so that you get to where you want to go. So it's always been a very narrow, short-term focus for us, and we're not going to change that.
Guy, Dance again with CBC. You're leading the series. He's playing well, but is there anything Mark Stone can do in your eyes that would help him break this slump that he's in scoring-wise?
I see we haven't focused on any slumps. Just like with Bobby, we never saw it as a slump. We saw him as playing well, and he needs to continue playing well, and I think Stoner's playing very well. He's getting the scored chances, he's getting everything he needs to, and it's just a matter of time. To be honest with you, kind of happy that he's not the one that has to come up with 2-3 points a game. It's happened this year. There was a span where he was looking so good, and I think now it put pressure on other guys to do the job, and that's where we're a better team. I think our success has really come from everybody. Any given night, it can come from, our fourth line was our first line. I mean, if you look at Pajot, Pyatt, now MacArthur's on it, but I mean, we had Hoffman, Pajot, Pyatt as our first line for about 3 months. So I think the spread of our wealth over the 4 lines and the 6 defensemen has really helped us be consistent in what we do. So we're certainly not going to look at Stoner and see him as somebody that's struggling. I don't think he's struggling at all. He's making high-end plays. He's defending really well. And we just want him to continue what he's doing.
Gate, you've kind of changed your routine a little bit. You're staying tonight, came a day early. Are you trying to manage rest a little bit here?
Always have. We since day one, I've been saying it, rest is a weapon. We've really managed our rest all year long. I'm a big fan of that. Pretty intense. So I know that when we do things, we do them hard. And when it's time to rest, it's total rest. So I like to be 100% guy. So that's 100% rest or it's 100% work, nothing in between. And our players have bought into it, and it's served us all year. And I think at this time of the year, the health of our players matters, but also how we manage our time off. And so we haven't really changed our routine in a long time now. It's been we rarely had practices, I think, in the last 3 months. So we've done what we need to do on video. We've done it individually. We've done it through small groups. We've done it morning skates. But I think it's a league now where not a lot of teams practice anymore.
Guy, in terms of Ben Harper in his first game, I'm sure you were happy what you got. With a guy that hasn't had that much experience coming in, do you leave him alone? Do you let his teammates help him out? Do you don't want to make it bigger than it is, or is it?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what you just said there. We're not making it bigger than it is because he was so good down there. Like I said, you got the MVP in Binghamton. And since Christmas, all I kept hearing, hey, this guy's ready, this guy's more than ready, and this guy's playing awesome. And we brought him up at the end under a lot of pressure where we're missing 3 of our top 4 Ds. And he played up there logging 20 minutes in all aspects of the game. And he was unbelievable. So, I mean, you look at him last game, he looks like a vet. And that's why I think our depth has served us well. That's why we're not nervous to put a guy out there. And so we're not making anything bigger than it is because, first of all, in the American League team, they're playing the same systems we are. So it's easy when the guys come up. We don't need to re-explain things. They know exactly what they're doing. So there's an easy adjustment there. But also, he has played big games for us in big pressure moments. So it's just one more pressure game where he excels. And I think his greatest asset, besides his height, is his poise. He's got so much poise handling the puck and protecting it and making a play. With the Bruins being very aggressive, we're expecting them to be even pinching more today with their defensemen and coming at us real hard. I think he's the perfect guy to be out there. We're expecting their very, very best. They're the most desperate game of the year. If you look at all the teams yesterday that were at home trailing, they all won. Because they were desperate and they gave everything they got. So we know exactly what's coming tonight. We're not going to be surprised by how hard they're coming and how much they prepared and how much they want this game. So that's for sure. Our expectation is that this is going to be their very, very best and their hardest. We know that.